Well, thanks for coming in again, Ian.
No problem. Yeah.
Last week we were talking about some relationship patterns, maybe some unhealthy patterns that have been showing up recently in your life. Can you kind of remind me where we were with that?
Well, talked about how a lot of times when I have like a close friendship and all, there's sort of it goes well for a while, but then it hits a point, and I don't know. I feel like I just start to become a bother to the other
Hmm.
person, less of a friend, and just sort of somebody who's like they're obligated to be around me,
Hmm.
and I don't know if it's just some kind of anxiety or what, but after that point, I kind of just pull away.
Hmm. Do you get any cues from the other person that you are a burden, or how do you think you get that perception?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm probably just being oversensitive to something,
Hmm.
like they say something or whatever, but I don't think there's a lot of cues from them, honestly. It just feels like it's coming from me.
Hmm. So you think it's more an issue with you than with other people?
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot.
Hmm.
So,
Okay. Um, What are some pastimes that you felt that? I know we've talked about that happening in recent relationships, but can you think of times earlier in your life where you first started noticing that pattern?
um, well, in high school, I remember there was a time when I really connected with this one girl, and we became good friends and
Mm-hmm.
all, and it lasted for about like one semester,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like after that, even though we were in the same classes, still it just sort of nothing. We didn't really talk or
Yeah.
anything like that very much.
Yeah. Was that a result of you pulling away, or did that just kind of happen to the relationship?
Yeah, I do distinctly remember pulling away from that.
Okay. Can you think of a time before that that something like that happened?
Actually, in middle school, I didn't have a whole lot of friends,
Mm-hmm.
but I was friends with this one guy, and he was pretty popular actually. So I was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh well,
Yeah.
I'm honored
Mm-hmm.
that you're a friend of mine
Yeah.
and all. And I can't remember what caused it, but we had like I said something, and he just kind of turned to me at one point, and he called me a loser.
Hmm.
And after that, it just kind of our friendship kind of fell apart.
Yeah. I'm guessing the subsequent falling apart was a painful experience for you.
I guess it was a long time ago. I don't
Yeah.
really remember it.
So for that relationship, do you remember you pulling away, or was it just unexpected? You said something that apparently was offensive, even though you didn't think it was.
Yeah, I don't remember pulling away or anything.
Okay. But you also don't remember any kind of acute distress around the ending of the relationship.
I remember it's bothered me for a while
Mm-hmm.
actually. More, I mean, been kind of surprised.
Yeah. So it bothers you. What does that feel like? What does that mean?
Like, whatever I said, it didn't require that kind of a response.
Mm-hmm. It almost wasn't fair.
Right, it wasn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
No, and you just don't say that kind of thing to your friends.
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing anger. Maybe you felt betrayed.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like maybe you're recognizing that you weren't in the wrong in that situation.
Like, yeah, you could say that.
The hesitation, though, perhaps part of you feels like you did do something wrong.
Mm. And again, it was a long time ago. I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the reason I ask is because a lot of times relationship patterns we have as adults did start with some of those early experiences. They're kind of called shaping experiences. Um, Obviously, as adults, things that happen can change how we relate to the world and people.
Mm.
But when we're essentially a blank slate when you're younger, those experiences are a little more impactful. Um, do you have a sense of maybe what your relationship style was at the time that you had the friendship with that boy?
Relationship style?
So, so perhaps talking about patterns, like it sounds like maybe with this boy you hadn't yet developed the pattern of getting close and then pulling away when it felt too close.
Hmm. Um, during middle school, I was kind of a loner. I didn't really have. I had moved to a new place, and so I didn't have a lot of connections.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the few that I had, I really kind of latched onto
Mm-hmm.
really strongly. Um, I don't really think I had that issue of pulling away before that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of who I am sort of came from that period of time when I moved to
Yeah.
a new area and
Yeah, and that's already a tough social time for people. So.
um,
And that's okay. At the time, you were young, so I mean, you probably didn't have very fully developed styles. But I mean, something we look at is like the messages that you got. You know, like what do you think you started to believe after you had that experience?
hmm, oh, around the same time I'd been bullied a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and just that word loser,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of followed me around for a long time.
Yeah.
I think maybe that was the start of it. Um, just and that sort of helped. That's fueled my issues with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And if I'm remembering right, that started even before this incident, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, no, the idea that I just don't. I'm not up to the standards that I should meet.
Yeah. What do you think those standards should be?
I don't really know. It's just something that I'm whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing well enough,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what it is.
So that sounds like a pattern that's pervasive. It maybe gets into even more than relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, when do you think that started? Can you think about maybe a key event?
Um,
If not, you can think of like a relatively early example, like sometime in high school that you felt you hadn't performed well enough, or middle school, or
hmm.
just an early time you remember starting to feel that way.
I mean, definitely that happened in high school a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I always really wanted to do well in my classes and everything, and I mean, there were times when like I had projects and all, and I just didn't feel like I'd done well enough on them,
Mm-hmm.
so I'd beat myself up about about doing that. Which of course seems silly at this point because it's like none of that mattered.
Right. And
Now
perhaps
that
you'll
I'm,
look back on the present moment and feel that way in 5 years.
mm, that's possible. Yeah, yeah. I've thought of that too, and that sort of thinking kind of helps.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So I do want to ask, what was kind of your social situation in high school? You said you didn't have many connections in middle school.
it's kind of the same situation, really, because I
Mm-hmm.
moved again at the end of middle
Oh,
school,
did you? Okay.
so I was again stuck right in with
Yeah.
in a new situation,
Yeah.
the new people and all, and I made a deliberate effort to try and reach out more, but I never really made any deep connections.
Yeah.
Not really. Uh, I mean, like now I don't have any connections from high school that are at all meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm kind of seeing maybe a connection here, and you can tell me if you think there's anything to it. But the events of moving, actually moving, could have something to do with these patterns. If you're with a group of people for a few years, you get close and you're torn away. I mean, maybe that's why you have that reaction when you start getting close to people.
like
So,
it's going to end
mm-hmm.
anyways. So
Which, of course, is usually not true, but that's what your body learned at a young age.
I yeah, I mean that makes sense actually. I'd never thought of that, but that would kind of make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why there's sort of a period where you get to know people and it's really fun, and then well, I have to go now.
Yeah.
That that does make sense actually.
Well, and possibly moving forward, maybe we can just do some cognitive reframing, like recognizing that you're now in control of where you live and you shouldn't be
Hmm.
having that situation. So maybe it is safe to invest more long term in your relationships.
Yeah, I see. I yeah, if I can sort of think about that kind of more concretely,
Mm-hmm.
um, I could see that helping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we can certainly work on that. I think we're about at the end of our time. Is there anything else that you want to address?
Um, well, I mean, this kind of a thing could sort of it might help me with some other kinds of anxiety, even just trying to get to know people and all,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, maybe one of my fears has been that these kind of all of my relationships sort of I pull back at the end and have
Mm-hmm.
trouble even starting some.
Yeah, yeah. Do you do you have a sense of why getting them started is? I mean, that's difficult to an extent for a lot of people, but what do you think it is for you?
I don't know. I think it's a fear of being a fear of just being rejected completely, just right
Mm-hmm.
off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you've experienced frequently?
Um, well, in middle school, that definitely happened a lot. That's where
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my bullying came from.
Yeah.
Because I was never very good at sports, and
Mm-hmm.
all I get made fun of a lot for that.
Yeah. Um, where are you with the bullying? Do you feel like, I mean, obviously it's not going on, but do you feel like you've worked through kind of some of the wounds from that, or?
I guess I never really thought about it. Guess I figured, it's not happening anymore, and that's good. So
Mm-hmm.
I never really thought about like working through what's happened.
Yeah. And there's a use to both viewpoints. To an extent, it is valuable to be in the present and focus on what you can do going forward. But at the same time, like I said, these patterns that we learn are established in the past.
Mm.
And we, of course, can't change what happened, but if we can look at it and maybe change our beliefs about it and change the messages that we got, that can change us in the present.
That makes sense. I'll have to get back on you on that. To you on that. I'll
Okay.
think about that more and about what I might have learned from those experiences. So,
Do you want to venture any preliminary guesses right now?
I guess I learned not to look vulnerable, not to be vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
in front of people, because people will just take advantage of you.
Yeah.
That there's certain, I mean, it was always certain kinds of people, the jocks
Mm-hmm.
or the really popular people who would do that, and so I've tried to sort of always disliked those kind of people
Mm-hmm.
and distrusted them.
Yeah. So there's still some wounds there that are playing out even today.
Yeah, I guess so.
What might be a time when that didn't happen? You were vulnerable with somebody and they accepted you and they cared about you.
Well, there was in college. I had a Bible study,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a couple of us guys,
Mm-hmm.
and we would get into some deep stuff and some really personal stuff, and I would go into a lot of my past and private details about myself and all,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all good friends still, and they were all really understanding.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, so that's what we call a corrective experience.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sense that maybe your relationship patterns were a little healthier after that experience?
Yeah, actually, I think. Yeah, it sort of set a different tone for
Mm-hmm.
at least in like that environment,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of an environment. I feel safer in.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, yeah, those little victories can add up to bigger changes, just like
Mm-hmm.
kind of the little problems, those little experiences, like with the guy in middle school, can add up to bigger problems.
Mm.
So, yeah, we can delve into a lot more of that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about today?
No, I think that's good for
Okay.
now.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
take care of yourself between sessions, and we'll kind of pick up here next week, um, barring any immediate needs that need to be addressed. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. Well, thank you,
All
Ian.
right. Thank you, Austin.